to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Two of today's guests are about to tell you on tape that they built their business while listening to this show. The third told me the same thing off air. And I wanted you to know that before you listen to the episode, because these three ladies did it and you can too. You need some tenacity, some smarts, probably a dose of luck, or more accurately, you need to be prepared to be lucky. But the big thing is it's possible if you take the ideas and the lessons that you learn on the podcast into action, right? They can't just sit in your head or sit in a notebook. You've got to take the things and do the things. And when you do, this is what's possible. So on this episode of Overheard today, you are hearing from three interior designers who each have built a business in under 10 years that exceeds $5 million in gross revenue. Jennifer Arteaga runs Jennifer Lynn Interior Design in South Florida. She has a team of 11, and she started her career in kitchen and bath working at big companies, learning the design and business side entirely on her own. Mae Reedy runs Mae Reedy Build and Design in Dallas, Texas, where she does design and construction under one roof. She's earned both Remodel of the Year and Designer of the Year within months of each other. And Abigail Kahan runs Abigail Kahan Design in Montville, New Jersey, a full multidisciplinary studio. Her team now spans interior design, architecture, and an in-house product design division, including her own customer furniture line, Artists, with a piece that's already won Dwell Magazine and Vestas Home's Best Seat in the House Award. Okay? These women are running big businesses. And you know what? They're wrestling with the problems that come with a business at that size. How do you build a fee structure that protects your profit? What happens the day your business gets too big to run outside of your head? How do you draw a boundary with a client who wants to treat you like an employee? So wherever you are on your own timeline, in your own business, you know what? Get ahead of the lessons now before you need them. And before I introduce you to these powerhouse ladies, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Mr. Steam. If you hesitate to specify steam because it feels complicated, listen to how Mr. Steam explains it. A steam shower works on the same logic as a hot water heater. Water in, hot steam out. The specification variables, space dimensions, wall materials, electrical, plumbing, finishes, these are all details that you already manage every day. Mr. Steam has built a tool called the Pathway to Steam that walks you through every decision, and their virtual spa tool turns the answers that you get from that exercise into a complete spec at list price, ready to present or share with your client or a contractor. No account is required to do these things. Okay, you can do this and find this information at luannigara.com/Mr. Steam. I also encourage you to go back and listen to episode 1200 with William and Dawn, the employees at Mr. Steam that were here and talking about Mr. Steam and how you can apply it to your projects. We'll link it in the show notes. Don't leave the money on the table. Learning Steam is not complicated, and you could be adding a valid revenue stream to your projects right now. Alrighty, let's meet Jennifer, Mae, and Abigail. Hey ladies, thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hey everyone, Jennifer here from Jennifer Lynn Interior Design.
Hi, Mae Reedy from Mae Reedy Build and Design in Dallas, Texas. And Abigail Kahan from Abigail Kahan Design in Montvale, New Jersey.
Nice. Jersey in the house. You got to
Yes,
represent here. Come on.
absolutely.
Okay. I'm excited for this conversation, my friends. This episode of Overheard, the thing that we have in common is that you're all several $1 million businesses, not one or two of them, several of them. And so, that's a unique thing. That's a unique thing. And also, interestingly, you are all in business 10 years or younger. And that is also a very rare and unique thing to build a business this powerful in this short amount of time and to be doing it at the level you're doing. And so I was thinking, what can we get out of you? What can we learn out of these ladies who have been up and down the road and the school of hard knocks here and figure out something that we could share with the audience? So, my first question is going to be, and I don't normally ask this question, but I am going to for just a second. And I don't want to know that you started moving furniture in your house when you were 5. Please don't go down that far. Okay. But I am curious if each of you, any of you, all of you were like, yeah, I'm going to build an empire. Or it was like, I'm going to be an interior designer. And it started clicking. And the next thing you know, you were a several million dollar business. So, Jennifer, why don't you take the question first? Did you say when you opened Jennifer Lynn Interiors, that you were going to have this big company?
Absolutely not.
No.
So
Okay.
I just was one for doing things as they came and opportunities as they came my way. And it just sort of kept building and building. So some people will say I was building or I was changing the tire on the car while the car was driving. So I didn't have a plan. I never worked for a design firm. Yes, I have my design background, design school, worked for some big companies on the kitchen and bath side, but then started to say, okay, well, I can do this myself. I want to do the business my way. And I didn't want to go work for another designer. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like what some of the designers were doing. And I had a vision of how I wanted to run my business. And I just said, okay, I'm going to figure it out. And I did.
Good for you. I'm going to ask questions about it, but before I do that, so May, how about you? Set out to build an empire or just happen to find it?
It was an evolution. I started more in textiles and jewelry after I graduated with my art degree and was invited by a dear friend to assist her with some projects. Over several years, I just became more and more a part of the industry, transitioned over, and I kid that my business was like born out of frustration. But honestly, it really, really was because I found myself in the construction space. I love construction design more than anything else. And here's where, yes, I did grow up around it. My dad's a builder and I was fighting it. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm the creative one. But then I did realize that I actually was not giving myself enough credit for being as business minded as I was. I mean, I had straight A's in school. Like, I can do math. Like, for some reason, I thought it was scary that I was either left brained or right brained. And there was just a moment where I realized I needed to cut out the middleman. I could do the left and the right brain. We could do the creative and the build. Became the contractor because I was frustrated. And that's when I, kind of out of frustration, said, I am going to build an empire because I don't have room for dummies. Like, get out.
I love it.
So
I love it.
I had a moment.
Okay. So there was a moment. And Abigail, how about you?
Not when I started, no. It definitely has changed as time has gone on. When I started my business, I was raising 2 little kids, and so I didn't see how that would work. That's actually how I found your podcast back in the day because I wanted to do an internship by a prestigious firm in the city, and I didn't have time with my little kids. And so I decided, you know what, instead of learning by one firm and seeing how I can make that happen when it was nearly impossible when I had my little kids, I'm like, I found your podcast and I said, I'm going to listen to every episode, take all the notes that I can and string together the best possible business plan that may or may not work and see where it goes. And that's kind of how my business was born. I have my master's in interior architecture and design. So I said, let's give it a shot. And the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay. So It's funny because I have met designers as I've traveled across the country these last several years, 10 years plus. Some people come up to me and say, I'm building an empire. That's my thing. But I have to say, the overwhelming majority is more like you guys. It's like, I'm going to be a designer. I'm going to have my own business, whatever the motivation was. My parents were entrepreneurs or blah, 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 whatever it is. But there does seem to be that moment where it starts to click, and then you catch the fever. You're like, oh, I'm good at this. I can do this, right? Not just the design, but I can do the business side and I can build something of value here. So I would say that most of you, and we can characterize it that way, or we can say it the way Mae did. We just aren't tolerating the dummies anymore. I like that too, because that's accurate. Right? Okay. So thinking about this journey, you guys are all listeners of the show. You've listened to the newbie designers come here and struggle with, how do I tell her that it's $5,000 to design this room? And you're listening now at this point in your seat thinking, tell her it's $45,000 for that room, right? And that's the design fee and she needs another $150 for the furniture, right? Mm-hmm. But we know that moment, right? We know that moment where somebody is really struggling to say, it's $5,000 for a design room fee, and you need another $50,000 or $100,000. Think about any moment in your learning, in your journey, that to you was like, oh, that was a stomach punch moment. That was a hard, like maybe you kept banging your head against the wall, doing something the wrong way. Maybe you went back to the podcast to find others who had succeeded. Maybe you were sitting at High Point with somebody and somebody said something on a panel or a design bestie. But identify a stomach punch or an aha moment in this trajectory of building this business. Who's got one? You go ahead. Who said? Jennifer, did you say? Okay. You can? Okay.
I'll go first. So I would say my aha moment was attending High Point and listening to Sandra Funk. So I was one of the first, I was a part of the first group of her design standard. So at that point in my career, yes, I'm listening to the podcast religiously, trying to figure out how am I going to build this business. Remember, I've never worked for a designer. I didn't know how to write a contract. Right. I had no clue how to price things like draperies and wallpaper. That wasn't my world. My world was construction and kitchen and bath. Mm-hmm. So Sandra Funk, I really leaned into that heavily, bought the design standard. And that's honestly the process that we follow. So as I started to grow my business and add on team members, add on designers, that's the first thing they do. It's like, watch the standard.
Love it.
And yes, we've tweaked a couple of things over the years, but really that was my, I think that was my pivotal moment of going from, let's say, a $800,000 business and really turning it up because we had a process and we were following the process.
Good for you.
So that, I would say that would be my, aha moment as I look back.
Good for you. And Mae, how about you? You had one?
I didn't have one particular moment that was oh, junk. But I think when I did decide hey, I'm going to embark on this journey where I'm bringing all the design and all the construction under one roof, I had to face a lot of fears because at the very beginning, when I was just a baby, junior designer helping, and then I realized, okay, I'm going to go take my steps out on my own. At that point, very early on, I was scared to even be ordering all the furniture for the client. It was this level of fear of all the what ifs with finances that I was really uncomfortable with. And so by the time we were 4 years ago when we said, okay, we're bringing design and build in-house, I knew I needed SOPs. And I knew that I wasn't naturally going to find a source to just get all of those together from someone else because it is such an interesting hybrid. And I'm stubborn. I had a really specific way that I had been running design and needed to now marry that with construction. And so I knew I had to get comfortable with the concept of being always embracing change, that like the only thing constant was going to be change, so that I could go back and detach all the emotionality out of my process. Because when you're stubborn, it's because you're passionate. I had to like mentally let go and say, I'm going to document my whole life cycle that a client will experience with me, from the very first time they might see something on Instagram or Google until they're getting their cookie delivery at the very end, and to map out that entire journey and give each of them their milestone. And each milestone has its standard operating procedure. But then to also say, this is always open to change, because we need to see what's not working literally on a weekly basis, to the point where I know it drives my team nuts, that I'm like, oop, we're feeling pain here. Oop, we're feeling pain there. Constantly refining, and embracing the fact that when I'm saying we're refining, that is an analogy of applying fire. You know, I am refining, and that's a painful process. Embrace the pain, because it's how you eventually become bulletproof.
Okay. I love it. I'm making notes because I'm going to come back to you guys and ask you a couple of things or make comments, but I want to also hear Abigail's perception and her recollection of this moment in time.
I'd say when I started and I decided, you know, and you always say when you decide to be excellent, when I decided the route I wanted to take, I think what's really important when you start a business, and that was the aha moment that led me down the direction that I continue to take, is getting super clear about yourself as a person. Understanding who you are. I don't think you can take step 2 without taking that step and getting super clear on who you are. What would I want to do in this business if nobody was stopping me and nobody can tell me that I can't do it? And I really crafted my dream. And once I did that, I backed my operation into that. Okay, I want to go from 0 to 60 as fast as I possibly can. How do I make that happen? And I created a plan. And I'd say I had very few stomach churning moments, because if I'm going to propose something to you, and I did all the research I possibly can to know that what I'm proposing and how I'm presenting myself is the best possible way, and I also prepared my company to be able to execute. If that doesn't work for you, great, it will work for someone else, and I'm not going to sit here and cry, because we're going to just move on and we're going to get there. To be honest, that's how it went.
I love it. I love it. So what I'm hearing, I mean, call me crazy, but at its core, you're all talking about identifying and documenting processes. You're right. I mean, you know, it's like we've been saying it ad nauseum for 10 years, and you've all brought it down to that exact moment where, you know, you did the interior design standard, Jen, and you adopted Sandra's process and then made it your own. You made your tweaks and changes. You know, Mae, you sat there and you wrote every blasted thing from hello to goodbye. And Abigail, you made your vision for your company, and you're like, this is how it's going to go. And if you don't want to be on the train, you can get off. It's fine. But this is my train, and we're running it this track, right? So I love it. I love it. Okay. How about rewards? You know, none of you are old enough for us to be looking back on your life just yet. Maybe if I'm around in 20 more years, we'll have that conversation. But don't get me wrong. I plan to be on the planet in 20 years. I'm not sure I'll be podcasting in 20 years. Just to be clear, universe. I'm not like digging a grave here. I always just believe the universe is listening, so I can't not just say that, just saying. But you are mid-journey. You know, you are mid-journey. You're even at the beginning. You're not even, when I think about it, I'm in business 40 plus years, and you guys are all under 10. You're like, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. So you're kind of like pre-teens, I would say. You're kind of like pre-teens. You're like at that phase where, like, if you were actual teenagers, you know everything. You know what I'm saying? But really, the rest of us are like, I don't know. Not that I get that vibe from you ladies at all. I really don't. But what are some rewards? What are some wins? What is something that you're super proud of beyond revenue, beyond, you know, you all do amazing design. And I said that to you each off air. You know, I don't even care about the pretty, and your pretty is ridiculous. So what's something you're proud of, a reward that you've gotten already that you're like, you know what, if the world ended tomorrow, this was a cool thing?
I'll start off with that one, because I met you at IDS, like in person, had been a fangirl for a very long time. And I'm sitting at the table and your chair was like 3 feet from mine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's LuAnn. I have to say something. And that's when we got our first Designer of the Year award. And that just, it made my year. And then within just a few months, because we were in the build space too, to be the girl at the contractor's table is a very hard seat to occupy. I get things mansplained to me all the time. And I'm like, trust me, I know how the plumbing works. I know where the electrical conduit should be going. You know,
I know it's magic, but water comes out of here, sweetie,
yes.
right?
Wow. But we got Remodeler of the Year just a couple months after that. And I'm actually, I love my word bracelets. Right now I'm wearing mine if you can hear them. It was really fun that my daughters who are watching me on this journey wanted to support me and celebrate me in this. And so they made me the cutest bracelets that say Rody Doty for Remodeler of the Year, Designer of the Year to put on my wrist and carry with me around because my girls were very proud of me, you know, because
Mae, that's amazing.
I'm being a little bit of a trailblazer in the space of our family of what women are capable of.
Oh, that's amazing. How old are the girls, Mae?
They're 11 and 14.
Wow. That's amazing. That's so happy for you in that. That's a great win. I love that. And that's your win for all of your life, no matter what happens.
That's
right?
ours. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Abigail, how about a reward or a win or something you're proud of?
As a whole, I'm really proud how far we've come, but I think I try to take it to a more internal level on who I've become over the past few years and what I've had to learn. And I feel like I've been ripped to pieces and put back together again in so many different ways. I'm really proud of the people that work here as well. Mm-hmm. We're a very fast-paced, growth-oriented firm. And so what may have worked even 3 months ago, personality-wise, certain things, how we've operated, it will not work in possibly completely in another 3 months. And so what it requires from us and from the people that work with me is just this relentless concept of working on yourself and digging deep, not getting frustrated. So many things, being more diligent, more steadfast, being committed to a routine. There's so many things. And I think people look at design and the industry as a whole and say, oh, it's just, you know, design, it's cute, you know, but once you step into the role of business owner and working on something as serious as we are when you're dealing with people's homes, this is a huge undertaking and a huge responsibility. You have to be there you have to be there as a person to be able to take on that responsibility, be there for your clients and be able to be responsible as a firm as a whole. And so what that takes from your firm, from the people you're surrounded with, from you yourself as a person, from the family that supports you is everything. And so like you said, if I had to close up shop tomorrow, don't plan on it if the universe is listening, but I would say I've grown tremendously as a person and I'm proud of the people that I'm surrounded by and I'm grateful for them constantly.
That's nice. Question for you. It's one thing to say, you know, like basically what you just said to me is I expect excellence out of my team. That's it. Like in a nutshell, all of that is I have high expectations of myself and everybody around me. And I love that. But having run big teams and having lots of bodies and lots of eyeballs and lots of personalities, do you have any advice in the creating that culture of not accepting second best? Because there's always some, you know, let's use Mae's word, some dummy that thinks they're going to phone it in. You know what I mean? And like I always have said over the years, am I rehabbing this employee or am I showing them the front door? Right. And so it's not easy to gather a team that is coherent and has a culture like that. I think over the years at WindowWorks, I can remember certain times being like, God bless it. Like we've got, you know, some real turkeys on this team now, you know, and then other years I'm like, everybody belongs here. Yes. It's like, but it comes and goes, right? Because who moves to a different state or whatever. So Abigail, how do you, somebody listening that maybe has a team of 8 or 10 or, you know, like you guys do, bigger teams, and is just like, yeah, like how do I go and expect excellence and not just because I know what happens as owners of bigger teams. There are periods of time where we'll just be like, okay, I'm not going to pay attention to that right now. We got to get through this thing. And I know I've done that over the years, and now I have way less patience for it because I know it is much easier, honestly, in hindsight, to get rid of the dead weight than to carry it. Okay. But until you've chopped that dead weight 2 or 3 times and really seen, like, oh, this is actually better, it's hard to flex that muscle. So, talk to us about instilling a culture of excellence.
So first of all, it's nice to hear what you've been through, like throughout the years, because it is validating. Because it sounds like a perfect world, but we have these feelings and we've been through the waves for sure. But I think it needs to start from the top, and that's why I always say, like, constantly working on yourself. Because if I'm not here and I'm not looking over and I'm not staying up those nights and trying to be an example for my team, it's just not going to be there. So I know there's this concept that, and I can go down this rabbit hole of, you pull out the main character of the firm as much as possible so the team can automate as much as possible as you grow. Right now, I find that me overseeing and setting an example as much as I can is really important still. I always tell my team that we are all human beings and no one's perfect, but in this firm, I expect perfection. I do say it all the time because if someone is spending $1 million on, a few pieces of furniture, you better believe it'll be there perfect. Yeah. There's no excuses. And if that doesn't work for you, and you can read on your employees if that's intimidating or not, if that scares them or not. And so if they can read your expectations very, very clearly, that's not to say that sometimes, I'll say 2 things. First of all, we don't hire interns anymore, and all of our staff is high level. Because we're a small group, we have more control over our projects, and we spend less time teaching. It's just where we're at right now. Wow. We had a larger firm. I pulled all that back. I rather just have one of us, do that extra sourcing that's maybe meant for an intern, but I know it's being done right, and we're taking less time on teaching. It's just where we're at right now. And so I'd rather have really high-level employees who are really operating in the best possible place, and efficiency is key. My firm has to operate on efficiency because we're not an hourly rate firm. We are a set fee. So it puts the onus on us to be as efficient as possible. And so that's why I have the kind of people that I do. That being said, everyone feels it. Everyone feels the pressure, and it's important.
Yeah. So, and here's what I'm hearing. You're not afraid to apply the pressure.
No. Absolutely.
A lot of business owners are afraid to apply the pressure. They're like, I'll put it on myself, but I won't expect it of others. And that's a tough thing. And it doesn't get you anywhere, does it? Yeah.
No.
And Jennifer, how about you? We didn't cover a win or reward for you, right? What's your win or reward that you're thinking about these days?
I would say, I have 2 things. So I have one on the employee side. So it is really rewarding when clients are calling in, and when I go to meet them for the first time, they say, oh, Elise and Amy, they've been so lovely on the phone. They confirmed my appointments. I just felt so comfortable before I even met you. Like, I love hearing that feedback from the clients, because that's how I know, okay, they're doing a good job, because I'm not necessarily there 24/7. I'm hardly in the office because I'm out on appointments and running around. So I really trust my team a lot. And, I've kind of taken the approach from the very beginning of, let's say interns or entry level designers, and really teaching them and helping them grow their career with me. Now, of course, some of them have left. It happens. But the business just sort of moves in these directions, and it's kind of a funny thing how it happens. It's sort of like the people that are meant to be there are meant to be there, and the ones that aren't, they sort of find their way out.
Weed themselves out.
They do. And it just naturally happens that way. Now, of course, there's been a couple in-betweens that had to be ejected out, but you understand what I'm saying.
So
I have a really core good group, and honestly, I couldn't do what I'm doing without them.
Yeah.
Now, as I'm growing in my business, and Abigail, I need to chat with you some more because I need to do some, self reflection here,
Mm.
to be honest. So I'm sort of trying to learn how to be this leader for them that they
Yeah.
desperately want. And
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how to do that because I'm just so used to going and going and going. Now I'm sort of in this, 8 years in business, a team of 11, and I'm like, okay, wow, I've got to really be the leader. Like, there is no one else that's leading them. So now this all just happened like yesterday, basically. So this is very fresh on my mind. But I will say my core group, we have a really awesome, good group of women, and that all work together and we all want to help each other, which is key. And that's like the culture that I have. Yes, you might be on this design project with that lead designer. However, the other lead designer might need your help. And, it's okay to kind of flow between the projects.
Yeah.
So I would say that's something I'm very proud of, is the team that I have built. But now I'm trying to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then the second thing I would say, being in Florida, in South Florida, I deal with a lot of elderly clients.
Mm.
So something that's very rewarding for me is, it's sad, but some people are like, this is my last house.
Yeah.
And they really want it to be special. They've
Yeah.
worked their whole life and they're like, I want to redo this renovation and I just want it done the way I want it done. And it's just so amazing that I'm giving that to them.
Yeah.
And it feels very good. And sometimes, it's hard to stop and think about why we're doing this. Like, why are we all doing this business? And if I didn't have those little moments, I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, I have to really impact my clients' lives or else it's not going to work. The relationship between me and the client is not going to work if they're not really appreciating what we're doing and
Not, there's
really.
no juice for you, right?
Yes, no, and and that sort of during my process of consultation, I really kind of ask a lot of questions
Yeah.
to make sure those clients we're hiring or that are hiring us are the right clients.
The
But
right clients.
I would
Yeah.
say those are my two
I
wins.
love those. I love those. And I understand that. It's like I've talked about it multiple times on the show how we just did an addition to the beach house with a podcast studio and we bumped out the dining room to make more room. And I'm not a girl for things. I'm not a girl that buys, I was just about to say pocketbooks and everybody keeps reminding me they're bags now. Okay. Somebody actually I was actually at a speaking event in Orange County, California in June. And I said pocketbooks and and then one woman was just like, she was probably like 25 years old. She was like, what's a pocketbook? And I was like, really? Right. So anyway, so my point is I'm not your ideal client. I'm never going to be any designer ever in our podcast audience ideal client because it's not I'm just not. Most of us are not our ideal client, right? But I did find myself multiple times during this renovation saying the sentence, this is the last time. 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 Let's make it right. Yep. That wool carpet there. That's like another $20 a square foot more than the other one that kind of looks like it. Yep. It's my last time. I want that carpet, So I understand that feeling. The other thing is, I think that Jennifer, you touched on it and, you know, Abigail, you touched on it in a different way. And Mae, starting with, I don't want to be with dummies, touched on it. But like, I will tell you my experience. I felt like growing the business from 0 to 1.3 was one hurdle. And I would say in today's dollars, maybe it's to 2.5, right? Like it's just like different. We started in 1982 when we did say the word pocketbook for crying out loud, right? So $1 million was a lot different money. But my point is that there are phases of a business and growing up to that level was one thing. It was a machine. It was constant work, marketing, selling, perfecting everything we do, our processor systems, everything. Then the growth between 1.3 to 3.5, that was the leadership level. That was where it was like, oh, yeah, okay. Because it went from me and Vin quote unquote, Billy has been the partner since 84, but Billy is always extremely valuable. He's our best installer. His craftsmanship is out, crazy, but he never was in management role. He did his employee role. He did it exceptional. And of course we would have decisions that we would make between the three of us, but Vin and I managed the business and managed the team and managed the things. Okay. And now, of course, Billy is doing a lot more of that 40 years later, teaching and passing on his information. But in the growing years, in the 1.3 to 3.5, I remember it was the stages where prior to that, I did a thing and it went right to the employee, or Vinny did a thing and it went right to employee one, or employee, for me to this employee, for him to that employee. And even if we did a thing and I was in charge of doing one thing, he was in charge of doing the other, we were constantly talking at dinner, at breakfast, at all the things. Once we started to get to that 3.5, it was like, oh, wait, we've got middle management between us. And it was like, we don't have a process for getting out of our head. Like, we had processes, but there was a different person in between the thing that I did. And now it went to Susie and then to Sally, as opposed to from me to Sally. And that was hard. That was hard. And what you said was being a better leader. And I remember I have been identified as a leader in every room I've ever been in since I'm a little kid. It's a joke. It's like my mom will joke about, you'll meet her in High Point this fall and she will tell you. Okay. But being a leader, seeing yourself as a leader and taking lead is very different than being a good leader and being an intentional leader. And those were the years that I spent going, okay, girl, we got to figure out how to do this. And here I was in books and podcasts and all those things, because you're not going to take your company to the levels that you guys take it if you're not investing in your own leadership skills. Would you agree with that, you guys?
Totally.
Right? Observations on hard leadership lessons, or good ones to pass to your friends who are listening, or like, so tell us.
Well, let me give my 2 cents on that. So Mae here. I was pondering on this earlier too, because this is where you start to feel the pinch point. Like, and you just mentioned, it's like the size of where you're at. And right now, I think the growth period that we're in does feel difficult, because my goal of where I'm at right now is that I create a business that's worth something financially later, which means I need to be less owner dependent. And in order for something to be less owner dependent, we clearly know it can't all live in my head. And I had accidentally created a structure in our infancy where some things were living in other employees' heads, because I'm very passionate about less baton passes. I think it creates less areas of vulnerability. And so the reason I am so stubborn and so picky about how we run everything in our firm is we're kind of weirdos, that my team, they're all very multi-talented. The standard for them is really high, and I know it's really stressful, and hugs and kisses to them because it's not easy, but my designers are the project managers. So my ladies have to be able to be a phenomenal designer, put all of this together, get it into construction documentation, and then run the darn thing. They have to do all of it, but they have to offload all of it as well, because this has to turn into exquisite installer documentation. It needs to be phenomenal communication to the client, that when they go to sign their spec book, everything is there. Nothing stayed in their head. Nothing stayed in my head. Yeah. So it's been this really difficult year of building out what our reporting flow looks like. Like, it is the org chart. It has been my year of the org chart.
You're explaining what I was just talking about, right?
Yes, exactly. And I'm living it
somebody else
right
in the
now.
Middle of the path.
Exactly. And I am like in the middle of this. The only thing I can like really tie to it is it feels like I'm giving birth to a whole different child, but it's the same company, and I'm birthing an org chart right now, and it hurts because we did need to build in middle management. Yep. So in full transparency, our pants are a little bit big for us right now. Yeah. Our pants are a little bit too big.
That was harder. It was harder than finally training the middle managers and managing them. It was understanding, God bless it. like, okay, it's not only that they have to do a thing, they have to know the thing, and they have to do it at the level that you used to do it because you were the one that did it.
Exactly.
And that's not easy, right?
And the number of times that I'm like, trust me, I know your job. I used to do it, like, you got this. Hard motivation, but there it is. But like the painful thing is like building out this org chart for something that is scalable.
Yes.
So I have to think about it that right now it hurts because it's new.
Right.
Later it's going to hurt because now we're good at it, but now we're doing 10x, but it really did become scalable. And so it's hard financially now because I have to put more in on the front end.
Yeah.
We're training, we're creating, and it's not super easy, but like that's where we're at right now with hiring, training, and trying to find these efficiencies and that everything is actually documented so that we can be efficient. Because if someone asks the same question twice, we didn't do it right.
Right. 100%.
So
100%.
I'd love to interject here. It's Abigail, because it's such an important topic, and it's also been in my head the past, I'd say 2 years. In a design firm, when you're in a service business and when your name is on the door, how do you scale that business? So what you're talking about, building an executive team, you have to understand, to your point, okay, where do I want this business to go? Do I want to sell it? How do I want to scale it? And those are tough questions, and you really have to get clear on it. And I had to do that myself, because a service business you're dealing with really high-end interior design at the scale that we are dealing with it, my nightmare, and I've seen this happen many times, is to see a company scale and they lose the quality.
Yes.
It takes a year or so, and the quality just goes right down. And I don't see longevity in a firm like that. I've seen it happen again and again and again and again. And so you have a very unique formula with what you're doing. I think it's incredible. Contracting and interior design, like, wow. When it comes to an interior design firm, you'd be, and I've spoken to quite a bit of interior designers that are dealing with homes that are 200 million plus. You can't really scale employees you can't really scale a firm that large to handle those kind of projects. You just can't, because things get lost in translation.
Yeah.
That's said very simply. And they do want you. The client does want you. They do. So unless you're venturing into commercial as well, it's really, 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 really tough. And so we've had to go through a lot of iterations, a lot of trial and error, saying, okay, how can we be more efficient? And I'll just say one thing, that my goal for the coming year is to see how we can use technology to allow us to be more efficient, I don't want to really hire more people. I want to really use some really interesting technology to allow us to do more projects, to increase our revenue without increasing our overhead, which I think there's a lot to say where the interior design industry, I think, will go, but it's a really hard thing to scale a business for the kind of clients that we have, where you want, and keep the clients happy and allow the product to really still shine.
Yeah. So brings me to a good question for each of you. So at this level, are you creative directoring over all projects? Are you guys each at some level touching the design, or are any of you like literally helicoptering and not involved in design?
This is Abigail. I'm involved. I know everything that's going on, and this is not my only business that I run. I know every single thing that's going on.
Okay. How about you, Jen?
I would say, yes, I'm involved on every single project to some capacity. So there have been a few projects last year that my lead designer sold herself, ran herself, and I met the client one time. That was amazing. And that's what I want to build in my business. I want to empower my lead designers to say, okay, we don't need Jennifer. Jennifer's off doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
I can run this job myself, and I can do it myself. So that is going to take time, of course, but that for me is the end goal. And I don't want to have to be on every job. I am on every job to some capacity. So what I usually do is I start the project, I sell the job, do the contract, start the project. And then I partner with my lead designer and our assistant. So it's all three of us on the job together.
Right.
And as we go through our design process, our design concept phase and details, then once I have the client's approval on pretty much most things, then I'm like, okay, you
You guys
take it
can run it.
over. And then I'm on to the next, and I start the cycle all over again.
Right.
So I have my firm set up that way. And then once the client pays the invoices, then it goes to my purchasing department.
Right.
Then
And
it's
they're
on
running
them
it.
to track it. So my design lead is not bogged down
Yeah,
by
she's coming back to take on a new project.
exactly. So
Assigned project.
it's this cycle.
And Abigail, you're saying yes along the way. Is that similar
Yeah, for sure.
path for you guys?
Yeah, like one of my senior interior designers, he's on every single nut and bolt on the project, but I know everything that's going on. But like Jennifer is saying, I'd say we bring in the project, we direct the project, we oversee the aesthetic more or less, and we'll touch point with the client specifically at really important stages. But I still know every single thing that's going on. Nothing gets approved really without me knowing about it. But that's the point of having a team. So all the back and forths with the hardware specialist is not you.
Yeah. And Mae, how about you?
Very, very similar. It feels nice to be in like similar company because I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that is exactly what my day looks like as well. So I'm very heavy in the beginning. We do have a lengthy onboarding process so that I don't get bogged down into being client facing until we know they're very serious and that they're a good fit for us. Then I enter the picture. I see, do I like them too? Are we ready to do this? So I'm very involved in the journey that they go through. They go from, we're interviewing them, they're interviewing us, see if we're serious. Then I finally come out for a consult once we know this project is viable and they are green flags. I meet them then. Once we give them a proposal of what we'd like to do, if that's amenable for everybody, then I do put a lot more effort in the very beginning, prepping us for what is the design brief? What is it that we're presenting? What are the budget alignment goals that we have? So I work with my team very closely on that and what their calendar is going to look like, the journey to get them to construction. We make a packet for the client that my team executes on. So I'm going to start off with what the visual goals should be, the aesthetic. We've labeled and identified all of that. And then I have to say here that a huge part where I have so much respect for what it is that my team does, this is that they're in my office to learn from me. And if I don't give them the opportunity to work unassisted, I'm not a helicopter mom, then they're never going to grow that skill set. Right. So out of respect for why my team is where they are, I step back and I let them foster this environment where my creative director is over them and they're working. They have assistants in office with technical drawings and all the things they need to do to come together, and each person shines in their role. And I check in once a week. I want to make sure I like the color palette. Did they think about scale? I'll throw a few questions their way, and then I let them shine. And it's really beautiful to see that we have created a joint aesthetic together.
Yeah.
And so when new people come in, I'll hear one say to the other, oh, that color is not very MRD. Like they know what I'm going to say. And so like they help teach each other the way too, because clients come to us for this specific aesthetic we've made. We're going to grow that together in the office. And I just come in as needed so that we're delivering on what the client's expecting from us. And we are very clear with the client in the beginning, like, yes, it's Mae Reedy. However, here's where I come in, and then you have to trust my fabulous team that they're here to make everybody happy. Yeah. And if that doesn't work for you, then I will have people who are like, oh, I need to have a talk with Mae, like if they're feeling nervous about something. Yeah. Imagine people nervous in design, what? And I tell them, like, you don't single me out to have a conversation. It takes a whole team to do what we're doing. So we're going to talk about it as a whole team because we are a force together. The synergy is amazing. And so we run it.
So it sounds like each of you are pretty much like the conductor, right? Like you are running a symphony. Everybody has their role. You are overseeing all of the things, but you're not running over there and playing the violin and playing the piano and doing all the things. You're making sure it's all happening. Okay. I love that. the other thing that I wanted to talk about is just, and we don't need to make it crazy deep, but I know other designers are always wanting to know how other designers structure their fees. And so a typical thing is that there is a design fee. I will grab John McClane's word. I love John McClane's word. He is the
Love
designer
him.
within, and he calls it project fulfillment as opposed to project management. Because I mean, in Mae's case, she is the builder as well. But I always say to every designer, I'm sorry, are you in charge of what the builder does? Can you actually make him do anything you want him or her to do? So I don't know. I don't think you're the project manager at that point. So I like his phrase, project fulfillment, and then also there's procurement. So I find that often it's a flat fee for project for design. It is an hourly fee for project fulfillment, and it is a markup on procurement for the procurement phase. Are each of you running like that differently? How are you running? Jennifer, you want to start?
Sure. Very, very similar. And John McCain, I also kind of dabbled in his little program as well, where I learned about the fulfillment fee. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is genius. Like I was only doing the, creative and the design details. And then I'm like, well, okay, well, we're on the project for sometimes, a year. And it's like,
Yes.
I can't wait a year to get, the product sale, which is really where we make the money to
Right.
run the business. Like
Right.
the design fees are the design fees. That doesn't even really cover our overhead.
Right.
So that's how I structure my obviously every project is different. We do small scale projects and large scale, but I would say majority for that mid to high renovation or new build, we're running in the creative fee. And then we have the project fulfillment fee. And then obviously the product purchasing. So I have a brick and mortar, which means that it's a little different than some designers, and I have to explain it all the time to clients. And when I explain it, they really love my model and what I'm doing. And I have a reason why I'm doing it. So I have a brick and mortar location. Being that I have that, I'm able to get certain accounts with certain dealers. Not every designer can call up to every single company out there and say, I want to open a trade account or a wholesale account. So, because I have a physical location and a showroom, that's how I've gotten these accounts. So, MTech, cabinetry, Vanguard furniture, like little other vendors like that. So, when I explain that to my clients, they're like, yeah, but what's your, cost plus? And I just stop them right there and I say, I'm like, when you go to the furniture store down the street, I'm like, do you know how much they bought that sofa for from the factory?
Right.
Well, no, you know the price. So I explain it that way. I'm like, I'm a store. So yes, I'm a designer, but I'm also the tile store. I'm the lighting store. I'm the cabinet store. I'm also the furniture store. So I kind of frame it that way. And I'm like, look, we're cutting out a middleman, which means I'm saving you money. Period. So once that starts rolling in their head, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. And then I've lost one really big job before because the client, he's like, I love what you're doing. I love your process. Your showroom's beautiful, but I can't get over the fact that you won't tell me what your cost is. And I said, I won't.
Well, and my thing is I would have literally loved for I know you made the example of if they went to a different furniture store, but I would really be like, and what thing have you bought ever in your lifetime
Yes.
that you can't buy a hamburger at McDonald's and out ask them, what did it cost you to make this hamburger for me? Like people just have nerves of steel, honestly. And this is one of the biggest topics in every chairman of the board coaching I do. I'm just like, no is a complete sentence. What is your cost? No, you don't get to know that, right? Like, no.
And
it's bonkers.
It's different. I get it. It's different what I'm doing, and all the other designers in the Jupiter area, they're all doing it the same way. And for years, okay, I'm design fee and then I'm cost plus 20 or whatever. But I tell the clients right away in the beginning, I've learned to perfect that process of how I communicate this with the client. I tell them straight up, I'm like, I am not going to Restoration Hardware. I am not going to Crate and Barrel. I'm not going to those retail locations because yes, I'm getting a 20% discount,
Right.
and then you're going to pay retail. I'm like, guess what? I'm like, you're paying way more for that sofa from Restoration Hardware than you really need to be, because
Exactly.
we're buying from the factory. So
It's a $500 piece of junk that they're charging you $4,500 for. Let's be serious,
yes.
right? So the thing is, I don't think the language changes whether you have a brick and mortar or not. You're still the store. So how do you describe it, Abigail? And what is your practice? Are you doing a cost plus, or are you doing like, full markup? What are you doing?
So I will describe how our process works, but I also know, I mean, now that it's a little bit unique what's happening in New York, I think, with designers and how they're purchasing in general. I think what's very popular, at least with a lot of designers, that I know how they operate, they're going to a lighting store and purchasing a lot of the lighting for their clients from that specific store, or a tile place. So we don't operate like that. How I explain it to my clients is, first of all, we have a design fee, set design fee, and then we have a procurement fee. Two separate things. What I value most, and I've lost jobs because of this, is full transparency. Like, full transparency. We pass on our savings for anything we procure to the client. We just add on a procurement percentage to that. So it's sometimes you'll get 40% off and our percentage is a little bit less. It is what it is, but I find in today's climate, like, everyone has access to everything. They'll find out, they'll ask, they'll want that fee. It's always a question, okay, do we get the savings from designer? So I decided, you know what, we pass along that savings, but we take an overall percentage per piece when we are procuring those items. It just is what it is. So full transparency, we're getting you the best possible price. What I also explain to my clients is, this allows us to also, there's no back end. I don't make any money on the back end. I have no relationships with showrooms. I have no relationships with anyone, because each project is very specific, super unique. I will use a completely different group of trades and vendors for one project, and a completely different group of vendors for another project. And so there's no back end deals. There's no, oh, I'm taking you to this showroom because I know I get 20% back at the end of the year. It's design. In this industry, you need to be design firm first. That needs to motivate you first, not the money. And I've said this to clients all the time. I said, there's nothing else motivating me for your project other than making sure it is the most beautiful project. And so, that being said, I know what it takes from us to create such a unique project, and our fees will come out higher than our competition, most likely.
Yeah.
But we're super transparent. At the end of the day, I've done this exercise. You're paying less with us because we're motivated by the design. I'm trying to cut out wherever I can, the middleman, as much as I can. So for example, I don't really use any porcelain. It's mainly stone for our clients. We're using a lot of stone. I've created a relationship with a supplier from Italy. We're motivated by the design, and so we'll do everything we can and go to great lengths to have relationships with people that can give us the best possible price to allow your project to shine. And so it's really how we structured it. I'd say the one really interesting thing, similar to Jennifer, is we manufacture our own furniture as well. And whenever a client does buy a piece of furniture from us, and it can be quite a bit for a lot of homes that we design, just because we're giving you probably a better product than you would buy from retail, and it's cheaper. And so if you're purchasing from us, you don't pay a percentage on that. Whatever spread we're making on that furniture is good enough for us. And so it's a really sweet deal. At the end of the day, like, when you do work with us, if you understand the nuances of what we're really giving you for the amount of work that we're doing, it's really, really fair. But I'd say it's not a popular way of doing things in the New York, New Jersey area.
So here's the thing. I'm going to tell you that over the years, I have met designers who are like just turning over the discount, right? Turning over the net price, or, net plus 20. Now, I'm not talking about a newbie designer that doesn't have the, what's to say the price. I'm talking about high level. But then typically, let's take a mid-level seasoned designer and competent, capable of running good projects. The design aesthetic is great. And it doesn't even matter if it's a $3 million firm or a $5 million firm or a $10 million firm. It's a profitable firm. What I have noticed is the higher you go to the luxury market, the more often I will run into a firm that their design fee might be $100K versus another design fee for the same room might be 50 or 60, but they're not making any profit on the furniture. Okay. So my thing is, when I hear people walk around and say, I'm fully transparent. If it costs me $500, you're getting it for $500. If it costs me $50,000, you're getting it for 50. What's often missing from that is, but sweetie, I'm not charging $5K for a design fee. That same house that you might have gotten a total $60,000 fee, I'm getting a $450,000 fee. Because you're not running your business, Abigail, on nothing. It's running on something. And my thing is, and what I tell everybody is, you got to hit a 60% gross profit margin. You got to hit a 50 minimum. So if you're charging $400,000 design fees and turning furniture over for a procurement percentage, good for you. But what I don't like is when both sides of the story don't come out in the conversation, right? Because we can't pass on the profit. Like Jennifer, you said 15 minutes ago, all the money's in the furniture. Well, Abigail's approach is different. All her money isn't in the furniture, but we can't not marry that conversation that possibly your design fees might be 2 or 3 times what Jennifer's design fees are.
For sure.
Even if Jennifer's are healthy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And so that's why I'm okay saying it, because I have profit in my design fee.
Yeah.
A good, healthy profit in my design fee as well.
Yeah.
And this is how I just felt it feels the most comfortable with clients. Because I'll also have clients that'll say, you know what, I want you to make 80% of my furniture. And so I need to be making also on my design fee as well. Mm-hmm. So it really depends, but I'd say I do have a healthy chunk in my design fee, but there's no one just hiring me for our design. They want the procurement as well.
Sure.
But I do feel like I'm dealing with a lot of business people. They just want to know everything. And they're going to come at me with, you know what, but I can get it by this person for less because I don't want to even have those conversations. I don't want to have those conversations. And so here's full transparency. You're getting the best possible deal. I'm giving you all the discounts. And then for our design fee, we're billing monthly. And so I don't have conversations with clients about, well, why'd you bill me for this? Why'd you bill me for that? Our contract states for X amount of months, you're getting paid, you're getting a bill of X amount. And I never hear a word again until it's over. And then when we start procurement, we shift into procurement, and then that's managed in its own way. But I just try to make it as easy as I possibly can for the clients. They know how to budget. They know how much they're going to be spending. They know when they're going to get the bill. And I don't want any contention. I want to have it as simple and as streamlined and as easy as possible, while we can also make the money that we need to.
I mean, listen, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
My thing is, you can't take one person's this path and one person's this path and think it's going to work. You've got to, if you're taking this path, you've got to go down that road that way.
Correct.
And blah, blah, blah. Mae, how do you do it?
Okay, so again, I'm like, because we transition from one side to the other, we do have kind of like a mixed model that we're working off of. We're a little bit hybrid. So for the creation of the design from its inception, it's going to look like what you're going to see on a lot of other interior design firms. We have a fixed fee that's based off of historical data from all of our other similar projects. You know, we're going to assess if the client is going to want to try to be involved, and of course that's going to cost more. Are they easygoing? You know, we're basically going to assess, and then we're going to have a fixed rate that gets us through design, that gets us up to the creation of the specifications book.
Yep.
And then we transfer over, and hey, that's when we're in construction now. So we would be earning off of procurement while we're in construction, of course, and we try to show the clients where we're helping them to get a good deal because we have great accounts, just like Jennifer. We're using our brick and mortar address. It's a beautiful little studio we've got going on, and it is a showroom. We have people begging for space to put things in our showroom, and we're maxed out at the moment. We're like, I've got everything I can possibly display here. But we do take on relationships with accounts that are very fruitful for us and for the client. We're in a cool situation now where we've got accounts coming to us that because we're showing in the showroom, and these are all the items that are actually making it into the client's projects. We're getting such ridiculously good pricing that I have to sign an NDA over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that. And when the clients want to try to audit us, because speaking to what Abigail's talking about, like when you start serving these executive level clients, this person's been like a senior auditor for so many years. They want to treat you how they treat their coworkers. 100%. And you have to draw this really hard boundary with them. That's like, if you wouldn't do it to the person that you would buy furniture from down the street, or if you wouldn't do that to the person, or if you were to go buy all this plumbing yourself, number one, good luck. Number two, you wouldn't audit them the same way. Yep. So I do tell them, it's none of your business, right. Yeah. So I do try to make sure that we have the budgets established very clearly of how much they want to spend and what they're going to get out of that. And so the thing we're trying to work on now is that it's all of our brand voicing, telling the clients, trust us. Look at the results, see the beautiful projects we've put together. And then when you see all of our Google reviews and when you hear the word of mouth in our town that we came in on time and on budget, take that for what it is and then let go and let us do our thing. Just let go. Because if you try to micromanage us, it's going to go sideways. And that nobody intentionally signs up for that. So we do have a good portion of client education focus we put in at the beginning of when they start design. We literally walk them through a mini class of how to be a good client. And we highlight, it's fun. It's really fun. And I take a good 15 to 20 minutes of just walking through everything that we say. To be a good client, I want to see you do this. I want to see you do that. And it feels like really fun pillow talk that I'm telling them about all these crazy things that have happened to us over the last 10 years. And it's a good laugh. But behind the laughter,
it makes the lesson.
They are absolutely learning. You do not text me at 8:00 at night. You do not audit how much did I pay for this light fixture. You don't decide at the last minute that you'd like your brother to come install the tile. Like, we have a real good laugh, but we're definitely putting a lot more time into client education that establishes boundaries that protect all of us through this right now. And it supports our fee so that we're earning that money and we don't feel like we're having to defend why we are charging that much.
We're providing a service. So that's what I always tell the clients. And the way that we kind of pitch it to them is we're your partner on this project, and we're having a relationship for the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. And we've got to like working together, and it's got to be fun, or else I tell people, or else I won't do it. Like,
I don't want to work with you.
If you're not a great person and you've got your own issues, like this is never going to make you happy. Whatever I do, whatever beautiful design we come up with.
It's not going to make your life better.
It's not. So
I mean, it might make your environment better, but it's not. If you're messed up, you're messed up.
It's not going to fix you.
Right.
So it's a service. And I do feel like when I look back at the clients that I've had, knock on wood, I've only had maybe a handful of people that have ever questioned our pricing, because we are very fair. Like, I am not going to put something on a proposal where they can Google that, faucet and see, okay, it's $500 online, but Jennifer, you're charging me $800.
Right.
Like, I don't want that. I don't need that conversation. I just price it fair from the beginning. And it's worked out for us. And the people that weren't the right fit for us, those are the ones that I've noticed really, through our proposals into ChatGPT saying, find me the cheapest price, like, and then come back to me. And I'm like, that's not what we do here. Like, we're providing a really high level of service for you first, design and service.
Yeah. And I don't think it's funny because, Abigail, I need you to know, I have had these conversations with designers that are much less seasoned, and I'm thinking they're kidding themselves. I don't think that about you. I know that you're running a big, major business here, and you have just figured out a different way to get to your profitability margin, and that's your prerogative. I prefer personally the other. I personally prefer that. I wish the whole industry would just say, we're a business. We're a business. You don't get to know what a hamburger costs. You don't get to know what a pair of shoes costs. You don't get to know what the light costs. But that doesn't matter to me as long as you have figured out the way to crack the code for you. That is the thing about the interior design business. There's 16 ways from Sunday to set the model up. The thing is, when you're lesser seasoned and you are giving it away on the profitability side and not charging your design fees at the right level,
well, then you're not a business.
Yes, now we have a problem. And so I'm okay how you skin your cat, just skin it. Okay. So I love it. I love it. You guys, I mean, we've been here an hour. I feel like, geez, we could keep going. Lots and lots of good ideas from you guys. I have to say, it's remarkable what each of you three women have accomplished in literally under 10 years. It's an amazing accomplishment. And I am just standing ovation for each of you for what you've done, the way your tenacity. I can hear the leadership growth in each of you. I can hear the thought that you've put into building the culture at your companies. These are all the hallmarks of good, strong companies, of getting your process and systems, clear and finite, getting your goals, your personal and your professional goals. I mean, you're just hitting it on all the levels. And it's just amazing to see what you guys have done. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom here with us today. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, LuAnn.
Thank you very much, LuAnn. Thank you.
When you are growing a business from the ground up, you just never get to the point where it's all easy. I hate to break it to you. Some things do get easy because you get better at things. Better at designing for one, better at understanding who your ideal client is for another. But there are always more challenges coming. You trade one kind of hard for a different kind of hard. The problems that sit on your desk when you are at 250,000 gross revenue belong to entirely different species than the ones sitting on Jennifer's desk and Mae's and Abigail's at 5, 10, and million and beyond, right? Interestingly, all three of them started figuring it out in real time. They told us this themselves, right? Figuring out how to grow and scale. Jennifer had never worked inside a design firm until she opened her own. She started without a contract template or a pricing framework for anything, right? And she leaned hard on the outside framework of the interior design standard by Sandra Funk, which is an exceptional way to get a handle on placing structure and process in your business. I highly recommend it, and we will link it in the show notes. Jennifer said that adopting that structure is the moment that she can point to as when her business started to level up. Now, she runs a brick and mortar, and she explained that her profit lives in the furniture markup. Note, too, that when a potential client who said that they loved everything about her, as long as she also supplied her net cost, he said he was good to go, but she wasn't. So he walked, and she let him. Yay, you, Jen. Then there's Mae. 4 years ago, she made the decision to bring design and construction under the same roof. And she knew she needed documented standard operating procedures to run it. Without a playbook for this hybrid business that she was building, she ended up building every SOP herself, mapping out the entire client journey from the first time someone finds her on Instagram or wherever it is, all the way to they get their special present at the end of closeout. She calls that process refining, and she compared it to applying fire, painful on purpose because it makes you bulletproof. And the growing pain that she's in right now is what she called the year of the org chart. She compared it to giving birth to a whole different company while running the one she already has. I have to tell you, I remember this phase well. It is not fun while you're in the thick of it, but the reward is worth it because it means that your business lives outside of your head and it is run by responsible humans who know what to do every day. Hard, but worth it. Now, a tough moment that Abigail described came before she even wrote the business plan. She said that she asked herself one question first. What would I build if nobody could tell me no? How much do you love this? I love this. Do this exercise for yourself. What would you build if nobody told you you couldn't? She crafted the answer as an actual vision with no limits on it. Then she backed her entire operation into that vision instead of starting with tactics and hoping the vision showed up later. And I think that's why she described that she's not had that many stomach churning moments along the way. She over prepared before she pitched anything, before she really got going. By the time she was in front of a client, she had already proven the vision and the model to herself. And so she understood by then, if someone said no, she moved on. She knew that it would work for the right person, and she just needed to find the right people. Now, let's talk about the money part of the conversation, because all three of them structure their fees completely differently. Jennifer runs a brick and mortar and makes her profit on both design fees and furniture. Mae runs a hybrid model built off historical project data. You know, the construction end complicates all the things, right? Abigail runs it differently still. Abigail chooses to pass on her procurement savings to her clients. Okay? I would classify that as passing on her profit in product markup to her clients. Okay, let's be clear. You know that I can respect what Abigail has done, but it is not the model that I prefer. I push every one of my COBs towards a 50 to 60% blended gross profit margin, and that is typically achieved through design fees as well as the profit margin on product. However, if you choose the same route as Abigail, then you have to be sure you are on the same route as Abigail. Because like Abigail, you must charge large design fees that bring in profit that makes up for the lost profit on furniture. The reality is very few firms can command design fees that get your GPM, your gross profit margin, to 60%. But if you are like Abigail and you can do it, go with my blessing, right? Go with my blessing. Just what I find is I will be out on the road and somebody will take part of what a guest says and not the other part. And then they wonder why it doesn't work. So if you want to do it the way Abigail does it, just also do the other part of what Abigail does, which is watching her profit margin. Now, if you want more thoughts on markup and margin, I did a solo episode where I talked about the discount lie, and we will link that in the show notes. So wherever you are on your business journey, if you're headed toward your first $100,000 year or your first $10 million year, commit to your fee structure and do it based on a sustainable gross profit margin. Not this is how that person does it, or this is what I heard at a panel discussion, or this is what my client will accept. Know your gross profit margin for every project and know your target, 50 to 60%. Okay? I actually usually say 55 to 60. Let's be serious. Now, write down the one thing that lives in your head and commit to documenting the SOP for it. I don't care if you're doing 100,000 a year or 10 million a year. We all have this moment in our head. We all. That businesses are a work in progress every darn day. I had a conversation today with my partner, Jessica Harling at EW, about documenting a process for EW. It doesn't end. So don't think it does, and just simply commit once a week to document another process, something that's changed since you've gone through your last growth period, because that's what happens. You grow and then the process has to change. And then the other thing I want you to do is think of the hard questions, the tough things that clients say to you, right? Think about them. You've heard them. You know what they are. And then get comfortable with your no to that question and why it's a no. Practice saying your reasons. Practice saying your logic. Practice it in the mirror, to your employees, to your dog. I don't care. You got to practice it so when it comes out strong, it comes out clear, it comes out confident. And if they want to walk away, just like Jennifer let them, you're going to let them too. Okay? But you got to know your answer before you get the question again so that you can have that confidence in your reply. Right? When you're building your business the way Mae, Jennifer, and Abigail are, one deliberate decision at a time, sometimes it's hard to know the next step or to know what to say or how to calculate your margins. These girls have some road behind them. They're seasoned. They're smart. They've been tested. Okay. But if you're not quite there yet, and you need some help, that's why I created the Boardroom for Creatives. You can be in a room with the exact expert for the exact problem you're dealing with now. No long-term commitments, just bring a problem, leave with a solution. All right? Thinking about what these ladies have on their plate coming up, the boardroom is for them as well. If you have similar challenges, Mae mentioned her next challenge is building out her org chart and training middle management to run things the way she runs them. That's 100% Jennifer Tokaktian's lane. She helps founders build leadership structure and team accountability so the business runs the way you want it to, whether you're on the job, in the room, at the meeting, or, you know what, like I always say, at yoga class. And Jennifer, her challenge showed up when that client demanded her cost and she had to hold her price and let the job go. She handled it like a pro, but maybe you need help there. That's Pamela Durkin's specialty at the Boardroom for Creatives. Closing conversations and objection handling, holding your value when a client pushes back instead of discounting or caving on the spot. Pamela one time helped a designer take a design fee from $20,000 to $137,000 in a single negotiation. High five to you, Pam. And Abigail's challenge in growing revenue through technology and efficiency instead of adding headcount while protecting quality at every step. That's what she's looking at. This is exactly where Amber De La Garza comes in. She helps established business owners cut through the overwhelm, make the one decision that's been sitting on the desk too long, and start replacing themselves in the parts of the business that only they've been running. So whatever stage you're in right now, somebody in the boardroom has solved it. Find your expert at boardroomforcreatives.com. Jennifer, Mae, Abigail, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the show for all these years, and thank you now for being the ones to share your hard-earned lessons with us. And thank you for joining me today. I appreciate that you show up. Decide to be excellent. Thank you for joining me today. This podcast is a production of LuAnn Nigara, Inc. If you want to know more about me, my books, or LuAnn University, go to LuAnnNigara.com. And if you are interested in having WindowWorks help you with your next window treatment or awning project in the New York, New Jersey metro area, go to WindowWorksNJ.com to learn more. Have an excellent day.